The two main takeaways that I have to take away from this, Section 8, would just have to be, the amount of, like, visceral carnage that really occurred and, like, the role that this played in, like, changing the history of the U.S., obviously. It was a big war, but besides that, just, like, how this, like, helped rearrange and redefine the role that women have in history and in the workplace and the role that African Americans have and the respect they were to receive. But first, I guess I'd talk about the carnage. Just being able to see those numbers, like the thousands of people that died, tens of thousands of people that died at Gettysburg or Antietam. And I don't really hear about that battle as much. I guess if I watch more movies or like watch more Civil War era type movies, you'd hear more about Antietam. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's how it looks like it's spelled. But yeah, how was the single bloodiest day in American history? Like, you know, I really didn't think about that. You mostly hear things about Gettysburg, but I guess it has to do with, the significance that war had overall. I guess that war was more significant, in, the, strategy. But along with that, it's always interesting to see that, how close the South was to actually, gaining some ground back. They did launch several attacks into the North, and they were successful, relatively successful. But yeah, with them losing at Gettysburg, they didn't have any foreign aid to help, which really would have changed the tide of war. Along with that, just being able to see how those government gals or government girls were able to, expand their workplace, and how the Southerners had to just see that change, just have to accept the change that when men were out fighting in the war, they had to deal with, the children, and they were now dealing with the farms, they were now dealing with making everything, the food and stuff like that, so they were able to get more rights. And along with that, the 13th Amendment is a great thing that was able to pass. It is still always interesting to see the cases like Dred Scott, where even though he was a freed, well, not a free, he was in a free state. He was technically still a slave, so it's always weird to think about. But overall, it's a very good, very informative, and very informative section that I'm really glad to be able to read about.